The Lilly Endowment started a program called Economic Challenges Facing Future Ministers. I can never remember all the letters in correct order, but basically what it is a program of grants designed for seminaries and a few church-related colleges to look at how they can spend the grant money to increase students' ability to spend less, to help them as they look at graduation and how they're going to handle their grants. And so the idea is that how are these students going to spend less and not have as big a debt load when they finish. The eastern cluster of the ELCA seminaries, which would be Gettysburg, Southern, and Philadelphia, worked together to write a grant. Here, Louise Johnson was a part of that grant writing team. All of the pieces went to Dr. Michael Cooper White, who knit them together. We received as a cluster a grant of $750,000, which is basically spread out into 3 pieces, and we're to spend it over a 3-year period. And we just completed the first year. The intentions at each school of how to spend their share of the grant are very different, and that was done intentionally so that we could share from the knowledge that each of us would come up with of what works and what doesn't work. And so ours is probably the least orchestrated program, but in some ways it's allowed us for the greatest level of creativity, so it's been a lot of fun as well. The original grant was designed that there would be a center, a physical space where students could come and receive counseling on a peer to near peer level, which meant that graduate students would be trained to do this counseling. And immediately the problem was, of course, that any PhD student who has time to do that kind of thing is not working hard enough on their PhD. So we needed to rethink how we were going to do this. And also, as we started working, it was very clear that more than having counseling about how to manage their debt after seminary, that there were students who were really in a financial predicament right now, that they needed assistance with how to make their bills. What could we do to be of assistance to help them so that the crunch wasn't so tight right now? Some of what we've done has been very practical natured. We've had some group meals and some other things, and some of them have been a little bit more seemingly frivolous at first, but there's a rack back here of clergy wear. We sent out a message to the Region 7 Synod saying we will take any donations of gently used clergy apparel. And in the past, when people have called and said, oh, my husband just died, would you like his robes? We've pretty much said, we don't have any place to take them. And instead, we have gathered, I think now we're between $15,000 and $20,000 worth of merchandise retail. We've given away, on a used basis, probably at least $10,000 worth of merchandise, so that students have gotten clergy shirts, which normally cost $50 if you buy one brand new. We've given away robes that were valued at $200 or $300, stoles. We had a drawing for a chasuble and raised money for Lutheran World Relief. So it's been a huge blessing for us, and for some of the folks who have called here, one lady in particular, her husband had died in the last year, and it was very meaningful to her to know that these things that have been very special to him were going to go on and be used by students and would be still of value and loved.
At the beginning of the year, ALSEC sent out a lot of emails and posted on Facebook a lot to get in contact with the student body, and was billed to us as a way to help us get through seminary financially sound, which is a big challenge to a lot of us here. Especially as a full-time residential student, it's really hard to make ends meet while working full-time for classes, and fitting in jobs on top of that is tough. So we've had a few different things that I've been involved with. In the fall, they had a workshop called Don't Go It Alone, talking about student loans and how to best manage those, pay it off before it gets to be too much of a burden. That was really useful. I participated in the Mint budgeting program, which taught us how to use this online software that helps us keep track of our finances and track goals and make sure that we're on track with our spending, which was also really great. And they also have been doing the clergy shirts, which doesn't really benefit me directly, but there's been talk about doing a maple-focused with business attire kind of clothing trade-off as well.
A friend of Emily Eisenberg's who does financial management came, and he had been very helpful to Emily and her husband Dan as they were progressing from college into grad school of how they might best manage their money. And so we invited Steve to come, and he and Liz Brunton, who's our financial aid director, did a program on what are some things you can do in terms of looking at your loan debt before you graduate. So we're hoping to do that again at least one more time in the coming year. And we're also, I hope, going to increase the size of the food pantry on campus. And that if we can do that and have a bigger space, that it'll allow us to do some things with what kind of food resources we have. But I'd also like to see us have a clothing closet. One of our students who is not an MDiv student said, we have all these shirts and things for the folks who are going to be pastors, but you have nothing for us. We've just received our first donation of clothes that would be suitable for a Maple student to go on an interview. So to be able to have those kind of resources as well available to our students would be really important. We'll always take money because we can turn it into other things, but if someone has professional clothing that's been gently worn, if they have clerical clothing, if they have books that are in that area of being classics that someone who's a new student would still want to have, they can send them to us just to the seminary address and mark it ALSAC, and the mailroom will get it to us, and we will sort it, catalog it, and distribute it.